Hi, this is Hamsika, and welcome to Stories with Swansea Presents The Real Deal, where we discuss and dissect everyday situations that influence and shape our lives. Whether it's the unspoken impacts of generational trauma, challenging the expectations of society, or exploring practical ways to bring more peace, balance, and joy into our daily existence. We share stories and lived experiences that are raw, heartfelt, and will leave you with questions. So, if you're looking for a podcast that feels like chatting with a friend about the real, relatable parts of life, you have come to the right place. Let's cut through the noise and get straight to the matter with no filters and sugarcoating. Because this isn't a fictional deal, it is the real deal. Episode 2 it is for the real deal. Thank you so much to all the listeners who are back, all the viewers who are back to episode 2. And if you're new here, it's only my episode 2, but still I'm thankful that you're here. I really recommend you to listen to my first episode so you understand a lot of things, whatever I'm saying in episode 2, as to why I'm saying whatever I'm saying. So without any further delay, let's get started. As you can see, she's blank and she's waiting to know what we are going to talk about today. And if you heard my episode 1, you know what we're going to talk about today, right? So, my topic for today is my big move to Australia. My big move to Australia, life changing, to just put it in 2 words. But why life changing, you will know as we speak. When I initially got to know that I will be moving countries, my thought was, um, yeah, I'll go work there, we'll travel, we'll do this, we'll do that. It will be like this. Like it was all dreamy and very kind of movie like, but I didn't know anything more than that. You know how they show in the movies, like at least how they used to show back in the movies, right? Like what it is to be in a foreign country, to be in a Western country. That's exactly what I knew, and that's exactly what I thought. Of course, my husband had prepared me. He had now, like Naveen did tell me a lot of things. This is so and so, so and so. But until you get that first hand experience, you wouldn't know, right? So I traveled from India to Australia for the first time ever, and I traveled alone, and I had to change a flight in between. So, um, like I don't know how I did it because I know how I was back then. I didn't know I could travel alone. Like now, it's like easy peasy. I can go anywhere in the world. I can live anywhere in the world with the amount of experiences and the exposure that I've had. But back then, no, I was so scared to even move from one state to the other. So imagine me moving to a whole new continent. Pretty overwhelming, but it was good. I went there during summer, so the weather was good. Otherwise, it would have been a little difficult if it was winter because winter in India is very different. At least winter in India, where I come from, is so different to winter in Australia. The first 2 3 days was good. I was just getting used to the time difference and jet lag and stuff. So the third or fourth day, I remember we were walking. So like Nami took me for a walk around the block just to show me where everything is and stuff like that. So I remember there was a lady who was like running and walking near the park, and she just saw Naveen and she was like, "Hey, how are you?" And then like they were speaking. So when she left, I'm like, do you know her? Is she your colleague or like neighbor or? And he said, no, I'm seeing her for the first time. And I was like, what? You saw her for the first time and you are speaking to her as if you know her. And like he knew why I was shocked because when he moved to Australia as a student, that's how he felt as well. Back in India, there is no way I am going to a random stranger, or like if a stranger is coming in front of me, I just stop the person and I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" And we have a conversation. Like, no way can it happen. But here it was very different. And I'm like, but why are people saying hi, hello to people they don't know? And Naveen's like, that's how it is. People are friendly. So whatever you see back in the news, that's not how people exactly are. So during that time, there was a lot of news about racism in Australia. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Of course it does, but so does it back home as well. Like it exists in every other country. There are good people and bad people everywhere. So it was highlighted so much that to a point where it felt like any Indian they see on the street, they're going to start, abusing them, like, and pass racist remarks or stuff. It was hyped to that extent. This passed, and then I slowly started warming up. And if I'm walking alone, and if I see someone and they give me a smile, and I'm like, "Hey, good evening," or if like they try to strike a conversation, I'm like, I was slowly getting comfortable. But that initial few days was a real shock. And when we used to go to shopping malls or restaurants, the first thing everyone asks is, "Hey, how are you? Like, how are you going? How's things? How was your day?" And like, why does anyone like who is not at all related to me wants to know how was my day? Like, asks all these questions. Like, it was such a big shock for me. And when I say cultural shock, it's not just this, right? But a lot of things. I don't know why a lot of people used to say, or used to show in the like movies, that only we have feelings and like these people don't have feelings. That is so wrong. They love their family as much as we do. They are together with their family as much as we do. And I just felt like, what kind of a narrative was built in our heads about people outside of our country? And I just realized it was so wrong. And I realized I believed it, and I felt like I was wrong as well. But I didn't I never stepped out of India, so I never knew what it is, but I still shouldn't have believed whatever anyone said. But if you have listened to my episode one, you know how I was, right? Like, whatever anyone says, it's correct because I don't know anything better. So if someone says something, then it has to be correct. That's how my mindset was anyway. And I felt very bad about myself. I was like, what kind of a narrative did I even have about, people other than other than Indian people? And slowly I started warming up to all these different cultural aspects of the country and what is important to them. What does it mean to celebrate with the family? How things work on their end. So I slowly started learning it step by step, and the initial 6 months was like really good. We used to travel like crazy and explore. So because Australia is not just a country and it's also a continent, it is so huge. Like, in one city, you can probably discover places every single day, and still you will have things to discover, right? That's how massive it is. So we used to just travel. So I was not working for the initial, I think, almost 8 to 10 months. I'm going to come to that next with my job hunt. Um, but those 6 to 8 months were really good. And as any other wife who's newly married, I was only trying new recipes. I was so happy I'm learning to cook. I was so happy I'm learning to plate things. And because I was like so obsessed with watching MasterChef Australia, and I would like love watching, like how everyone do their plating and things. I slowly started learning that as well. After a point, I'm like, I need to find something. I need to find a job because after a point it's just boredom. Like, I cannot sit at home, and for a person who has never been idle for so long, it was a huge thing for me. Because I didn't even have any break between my university and my first job. I finished my university in July, I started my job in August. There was hardly any gap. So 6 to 8 months of, traveling, learning all this new cooking, whatever, etc., etc. After a point, you kind of give up because you're so bored. You want to do something. You want to have an identity of your own. And I started having that identity crisis, and I just couldn't sit at home. And for the kind of person I am, right? I still am. I don't like asking anyone to give me money for whatever I have to buy or whatever I have to spend. I just don't. For the longest time in my life, I had to be like dependable on my parents because that was the only option. But even then, I wouldn't go and ask them, I want this, I want that, get me this, get me that. I was never that kid. Whatever pocket money I used to get, I would manage everything in that little pocket money itself. So I was the same when I got married also. I was so desperate to get a job. Like I have so many plans for him. I want to do this is for him. I cannot go and ask him money to do things for him, right? Like how does that even work? That's not me. So I was very desperate. I didn't know what to do. And I started with my job hunt. It was one of the most daunting tasks I've ever done because I would have applied for hundreds of jobs. And when I say hundreds, I am not even joking. I mean literal hundred. Like, so my background was IT. So the little work experience I had back in India was also IT, but it didn't matter what I did back there because that experience didn't count in Australia. And because it was not like a huge, like 3, 4 years of experience, I was still like a newbie. So I had full like work permit, right? Because I moved on a permanent residency. So I could work full time, but I was just not getting the job. 10 months, I think it took for me to find my first job. And it was not IT as well. Like I got so fed up of doing my job search with all the white collar like office jobs to be generic. I switched to blue collar job. I'm like, give me any job. I don't have any problem doing any kind of job. I just want a job. I need to earn. I just need to get out of the house because it's so boring. You don't know anyone in the country. Um, all I know is just Naveen and a couple of his friends who had become my friends, but still, they all have a life. They all have a job. No one is sitting free to catch up. And how much do you even just catch up, right? Like you just need to have a job, much help as much as you can to build a life that you want. So I I started doing warehouse jobs where I learned so much. Like I never knew how any of these things work, right? So for me to figure that out like firsthand was a huge thing for me, and I used to like really like going. Like you know how we have these big pharmaceutical companies, big these pharmacy centers where you go buy stuff. I was working at their warehouse where we used to like pick orders for people. Like if you place an order online that I want so and so from the pharmacy, so we used to go and pick those orders from the warehouse, from all those aisles and shelves and stuff. And it was just for me so interesting. So, like wearing a headset and hearing what commands that I was getting, and going and picking those stuff and like putting it in a box, packing it, sending it out to the customer, and it was just very I found it very interesting. And then I did multiple roles. I never got full time in any of those roles because they always felt I was overqualified, of course, because I had my experience in IT and I had a bachelor's in computers. So for me, what I got told was any day I get a better job, I am going to resign. And that was true as well. If I'm getting a better job, I'm definitely going to resign from here. But whatever I was working there, I was really enjoying. And I remember I worked in a bottle factory where they manufacture all these different sized caps for different sized bottles. And then I worked at L'Oreal for all their hair care, makeup stuff. I worked at so many different like energy companies where I used to like sit and fold all the their postages that they would send out every customer, the flyers. I would work for a company where they make all these welcome packs when you go buy a new car. So they had like Benz, Beamer, and stuff where we used to like prepare welcome packs for all their new customers and send it out. So it was very interesting. Like I did so many of those jobs. Like I have a list. Okay, like I don't have my phone, but I have a list. So till now, I have worked in this 12 years in around, I think, 19 companies. I am not joking. I really have worked 19 at 19 different companies because I was contracting, right? Like I used to have like small contracts. Like the biggest time frame I have worked for these companies, I think 3 or 3.5 years for that pharmacy thing that I was saying. But I was like enjoying a lot. But after a point, my health started giving up. Like I was so weak, and I was like a very indisciplined. I became very indisciplined. I was eating only junk food. I was never eating like good food. Even though I used to try out so many dishes and stuff. It was all like junk. And then I started like looking for other jobs, and finally, I got into project management, like invoice officer, and slowly I made my progress. And what I studied is not related to what I'm working on now. Like, so that was the job kind of side. And in this whole journey, right, there have been situations, like unfortunate situations where um, I have been told a few things, of course, because I speak different, I look different, my skin color is different. Some of the people who moved from our own country, they themselves had a lot of things to say about me, and have been ridiculed by Indians in Australia. Me, so many Indians have made fun of me, like more than what Aussies have made fun of me. So um, there have been a lot of unpleasant things as well. But in between all these things, I felt like I discovered more of my creative side. So through my common friends, I met like this dance group, and then we did a few stage performances. I was doing a lot of back end work, like with editing, with coming up with promos for the concerts. I ventured, like I tried to do like emceeing for a few celebrity shows through a community. So those things worked in my favor. Like I really learned so much during those process. Again, there are a lot of bad experiences. I'm definitely going to talk about a lot of them in future episodes for the different themes. But overall, it was a very collectively, it was a very kind of a nice thing for me, because I got to showcase my talent in a lot of things, and I discovered so many things about myself which I didn't know. I never imagined I was going to open a cooking channel. It didn't work out, but at least I did open, and I did do videos when I was working part time, because I had a lot of time on hand. What do I do? So I just opened a channel and I was working, and then I got like a full time job, and I became so busy that I couldn't, go back and concentrate. And it is a lot of work. Like content creation is not easy, right? It's so much work to like what you see for that 50 minutes or 1 hour or half an hour or even 10 minutes, the amount of work that could have gone behind it is just literally crazy. So I discovered that side of me, and I discovered the director side of me, because I ended up directing an Aussie short film. Like, who would have thought, right? Like, as I said in my first episode, like I was a frog in the well. Like, who would have thought I would jump out of that well to a new continent and then go there, work with the locals, and make a short movie and direct a short movie. So I'm like, there are so many things that I'm so grateful for, and there are so many things that I'm um, not so happy about, where there is a lot of course, ups and downs, and all these sufferings and all my health issues. While I was doing so well in a lot of things, also the other thing is I was still not confident. As I mentioned in my previous episode, there was a part of me that would act like I'm confident when I'm really not confident. So that for me was like a shield. But how far can I go with that shield? I cannot, right? Like at one point, it has to break, because that's not my actual personality. Like I was just so scared to show other people that I am not confident, because you've been made fun of so much throughout your life for not being a confident kid, for not being a confident adult, for not, being someone who, dresses to impress, who looks good. who kind of carries themselves so well. When you're not, when you haven't been someone like that, and you just try to be that someone else, after a point it has to break, and that's what happened with me. Because of this nature of me, I suffered a lot with my personal and professional life. Like, I would never stand up for, never. If anything happens at work, I would just come home, sit with Naveen and start crying. And he would always tell me that you have to start giving it back. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's your manager, whether it's your colleague, whether it's your friend, whether it, like, even if it's him, like, he used to always tell me, like, you have to just give it back. If someone is disrespecting you, if someone is putting you down, you have to give it back. And for me, I would think that yes, yes, I have to do, I have to do, I have to do. But when I practically have to put it into action, I was never able to do it. So because of that, I suffered so much, especially at my workplaces. A lot of these experiences slowly, started building up the frustration within me, and my physical and mental health, like, they started fluctuating, to a point where I again got diagnosed with clinical depression for the second time in my life, and I had to, like, go through therapy. Because of this nature of mine, I have had a lot of professional and personal struggles, because it is really hard for me, a, to say no. It is really hard for me to stand up for myself. I just don't know. I was always that person who's just scared, who's just not confident. Like, no matter what, I just couldn't work on my confidence. And all this finally led to my depression, about which I'm going to talk about in the next episodes. I know I keep saying I have a lot of things to talk about in the next episodes. That's only because I don't want to put everything in one episode, because it takes away from the whole point of why I want to talk about my big move to Australia. It has a lot of different aspects. I'm just touching on all the topics just to give an outline of what it was for me. But I am going to talk about in detail about a lot of things that happened here that led to my growth, my downfall, and all these things. Um, so, like, yeah, coming back to the episode, yes, my physical health, mental health was going down the drain, and it was at that point when we brought home Archie. So Archie is our 4-year-old Labrador boy, and he's our son, and we proudly call him our son. I know a lot of people are like, how do people call like dogs and cats or whatever animal as their kids? They are not human kids. They don't take care of you when you grow old. I am going to say it proudly that he's our son. We are so grateful and forever grateful that he came into our lives, because our lives turned upside down. Our emotional health was at its peak when Archie walked into our lives. It still is, and it will always be. The the amount of love he showered on us and is still showering on us, it's just, you just cannot compare it. There is no way any of us humans can love the way these animals or these dogs do. It's not possible. Like, many might not agree to this, but this is my opinion, and I stick to it. There is no way we can do any justice to the unconditional love that they show. So a lot of things changed for me, and he's also my savior. He saved my life, and he literally did. It's not like saying it for the sake of it. He literally did. We have explored so many different things in this last, I think, 2012. So it's been like almost 12 years to this November of me moving to Australia. And oh my God, the journey has just been like, crazy. Like, the things that we have done, the risks that we have taken, the struggle that we have had, the amazing moments that we have had. I can speak about it like on and on and on and on. Like there's so many. And today I'm sitting in my beautiful home, which we like built it from scratch. And who would have thought like someone like me back in India would move to a new continent, like go there, give her best, do like, go through all her struggles, pick up from there, get back into life, and then um, like together build a family, together build like a beautiful home, travel around the world, do whatever she has to do for her family, for her husband, for her friends, like be that independent person that she always wanted to be. Yes, there's a lot of work in progress when it comes to working on confidence and stuff, but still, if I reflect back on all the amazing things that have happened, I just feel so grateful. And this gratitude, this showing gratefulness is something that I'm really practicing because I really have to. Like we're just so blessed, right? That we are living a life like this. There are so many people who dream of it, but unfortunately, due to their circumstances, they just cannot afford to. So I'm just so grateful that we are able to live this life. I am so grateful that I've been able to work on myself, build a community that I like I've always dreamt of. I'm so grateful that Ashi came into our life. So for me, for a person who was never like an animal lover, for me to turn like into a complete animal lover and work for the animals, it's just it just makes my heart filled with so much gratitude that I cannot stress enough. So this has been my outline of my big move to Australia, because it's like there's too many things, right? Like even with me, who I was in India to who I had become in Australia or who was trying to become, there's too many layers to it, which again, I'm going to say it again. So we are going to talk about it in future episodes. So like once this 4 episode like intro episode series is done, that's when we will like choose a topic and start talking about it one by one, and I'll start having my guests as well one by one. So yeah, that's my big move to Australia. If any of you have had a similar experience, might not be moving to a different continent or a country or a state, like even if it's like moving to a city, or it might not even be a city, like from moving from one house to the other, like you were living with your parents, then you probably got married and you probably moved to a new like your own home. So if any of you have these amazing experiences, or if you have similar experiences to mine, please let me know in the comments. Like I would really really love to know what your thoughts are. And I'm going to come back with episode 3, and talk about who I am now. So that would be like episode 3 for my intro series, but we'll catch up again next week to talk about it. Until then, thank you so much again for listening to me all this while. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It truly means a lot to me to know that there are supportive listeners out there who appreciate the sharing of relatable thoughts and experiences. If you liked and related to what you listened to today, let me know in the comments. And also, please support by following, rating, and sharing the podcast on Spotify and YouTube. The related links are all in the description. Let's have a chat again next week. Until then, please make sure to take care of yourself so you can take care of others.